My parents used my college savings to buy my sister a car, so I cut them off completely.
And now they're begging me for help. I'm a 19-year-old guy, and since I was 12, I've been saving every spare dollar for college.
While other kids spent their summers at the pool, I was mowing lawns in the blistering heat, sweating through my shirt and counting every tip like it was treasure. I did newspaper deliveries before school, cleaned out gutters for neighbors, and even sold my old gaming console just to add a few hundred more to that fund.
Every time I handed money to my parents, they'd smile and say, "We'll keep it safe, son."
This is your future, I believed them. I wanted to believe them. Birthdays weren't about gifts for me, they were about opportunity. I'd politely refuse new shoes or a phone upgrade and ask for cash instead. It became almost a joke in the family. "Oh, here comes the little businessman again." My dad would laugh, ruffling my hair.
My MOM would tell relatives how proud she was that I was so mature for my age. I carried that praise like fuel.
It kept me going on nights when I was too tired to finish homework but too determined to quit. Then there was Chloe, my little sister, 3 years younger, effortlessly charming, and never told no if she wanted the newest iPhone. She got it.
If she crashed her bike, a new one appeared the next day. I didn't resent her back then.
I figured that's just how families worked. We each had our roles.
Mine was to be the responsible one.
Hers was to be adored. When I got the acceptance letter to my dream university, I remember sitting on my bed, holding it with shaking hands.
All those years of sacrifice suddenly felt worth it.
I ran to show my parents, certain they'd be as thrilled as I was. But looking back now, that moment of hope was the calm before the storm. The weeks after my acceptance felt like a blur of excitement and planning.
I spent nights scrolling through dorm layouts, budgeting meal plans, and comparing textbooks online.
For the first time in my life, I felt like I was stepping into a future I had actually built with my own hands. But as tuition deadlines crept closer, I finally brought it up the savings I'd been building for 7 years. One night at dinner,
I asked casually, "Hey, when can we transfer the money from my college fund? I want to get everything sorted early." My MOM froze for a split second before forcing a smile. "Don't worry about that right now," she said, waving her hand. "We'll take care of it when the time comes." My dad nodded, adding, "Yeah, focus on your studies, not the paperwork." At first, I didn't think much of it.
they'd always handled the finances.
Maybe they just wanted to surprise me somehow.
But a few days later, when I tried to ask again, my MOM got irritated.
"You're becoming obsessed with this," she snapped.
"Can't you trust us for once?" Meanwhile, Chloe was parading around the house in new designer clothes and the latest gadgets.
I remember her walking in with a pair of headphones worth more than my entire monthly paycheck.
When I teased her about being spoiled, she rolled her eyes.
"Maybe if you loosened up a little, MOM and Dad would treat you better," she said with a smirk. That night, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, something gnawing at me.
I couldn't explain it, but something felt off. My parents' warmth had turned into distance. Their voices carried a strange tension whenever I mentioned money. Then one evening, as I passed by the kitchen, I heard my dad mutter quietly to my MOM, "At least Chloe will finally have freedom." I stopped in my tracks.
Freedom. From what? The next morning started like any other. The smell of pancakes, the sound of Chloe's music blasting from upstairs.
I walked into the kitchen still half asleep, rubbing my eyes. But something outside the window caught my attention, a flash of white and silver gleaming in the driveway. A brand new convertible, spotless, wrapped with a massive red bow. For a second, I thought maybe it belonged to a neighbor. But when Chloe burst into the room squealing, "Oh my God, it's mine!"
my stomach dropped. Everyone was gathered outside MOM Dad, even a few neighbors taking pictures.
Chloe hugged them both, crying tears of joy.
"You guys are the best parents ever,"
she screamed, slipping into the driver's seat like she was in a commercial. I just stood there, frozen. My voice came out barely above a whisper. "Wait."
"How did you afford this?" MOM smiled nervously.
Dad's grin faltered.
No one answered. I pressed again, louder this time. "Seriously?"
"Where did the money come from?" The silence stretched long enough to make my heart pound. Finally, Dad sighed and said, "We used your college fund."
"Chloe needed a car, and you'll have plenty of time to rebuild."
"You can always get loans." It felt like my chest caved in.
I laughed, not out of humor, but disbelief. "You used my savings? The money I worked for since I was 12.
My MOM snapped. "Don't raise your voice. It's just money, and we're family."
"You'll understand when you're older," I wanted to scream. Years of sweat, exhaustion, and sacrifice had just vanished.
Chloe didn't even look guilty.
She revved the engine and shouted over the sound. Don't be so dramatic. It's not like you were going to Harvard. Everyone laughed. I didn't. I turned and walked back inside, my hands trembling. That was the first moment I realized my family never saw my hard work as pride.
They saw it as convenience. I don't remember sitting down. One moment I was in the living room, staring at the wall, and the next I was on my feet, heart pounding so hard I could feel it in my throat.
I stormed outside, my voice already cracking.
You stole from me, I shouted. That was my money, my future.
Dad turned sharply, his expression darkening. Watch your tone. We did what we had to do for the family. The family? I yelled, my voice shaking.
You mean, Chloe? You've barbied her entire life, and now you're taking my college fund so she can play pretend adult. Mom's arms folded across her chest, her lips tightening.
You're being selfish, Adam.
She needed that car to get to school and her job.
You can take out student loans like everyone else. Like everyone else? I laughed bitterly.
You promised you'd keep that money safe. You looked me in the eye for years and said it was mine.
Chloe, sitting smugly behind the wheel, muttered, You're seriously freaking out over some money. Relax. That single word relax hit me like a slap.
I lost it.
I shouted until my throat hurt, until I could barely breathe. But no one listened. No one cared. Finally, Dad's voice boomed. Enough.
You should be grateful we supported you all these years.
This attitude is exactly why we didn't tell you. I stared at him, realizing there was no point. No apology would come.
No regret. Just entitlement disguised as family duty. I went to my room, slamming the door so hard the wall shook. I sat there for hours, surrounded by silence, the kind that presses down on your chest until it's hard to breathe. For the first time in my life, I felt completely alone, and worse, I started wondering what else they'd been lying about. The next few weeks passed like a bad dream I couldn't wake up from. My parents acted like nothing had happened, like my meltdown was just teenage drama that would blow over. Dad watched TV in the evenings, Mom hummed while cooking dinner, and Chloe was always out driving that car,
posting selfies captioned "Freedom at last." Every time I saw it parked in the driveway, my stomach twisted.
That car wasn't just metal and wheels, it was everything I'd worked for, sitting there as a daily reminder that I meant nothing in my own family story. When I tried bringing up the money again, Mom cut me off sharply. You're still harping on that.
You need to grow up. Life isn't fair. I stopped eating meals with them.
I'd grab a sandwich and lock myself in my room, scrolling through college acceptance emails I couldn't afford to answer. My friends were all moving into dorms, decorating their rooms, meeting new people. I was still in the same house, suffocating under the weight of betrayal. Eventually, I picked up double shifts at a nearby diner.
I told myself if I just worked harder, maybe I could rebuild. I slept in my car between shifts sometimes, too tired to drive home. I'd stare at the ceiling, wondering how people could hurt their own kid and still sleep at night. One night, Chloe texted me, "You're seriously still mad?"
It's not my fault they love me more. I stared at the message until the words blurred.
Maybe she was right. Maybe that was the truth I didn't want to face. That night, as I lay in my car, exhausted and hollow, I made myself a promise I would build a life without them.
No more trust. No more family loyalty.
Only survival. I just didn't realize the next betrayal would make this one look small. It had been almost 3 months since I'd spoken a full sentence to my parents. We existed in the same house like ghosts passing each other silently, pretending the other didn't exist.
I worked, slept, and saved what little I could.
I thought the worst was behind me. I thought I'd already hit the bottom. But I was wrong. One afternoon, I got a call from a car financing company. The woman on the other end sounded polite but firm.
"We're following up about your overdue payment on the convertible lease," she said. I frowned. "That's not mine," I replied.
She double-checked.
"Adam Miller, correct?
Signed 2 months ago.
Social security number ending in 4109. My blood went cold. That was my information.
"There must be some mistake," I stammered, but she assured me there wasn't.
She even emailed me a copy of the signed documents.
And when I opened the attachment, my stomach turned. There it was. My name, my signature, perfectly forged.
I ran home, heart hammering in my chest, and slammed the papers onto the kitchen counter.
"What the hell is this?" I demanded.
My mom's face drained of color.
Dad tried to play dumb at first. "It's just a formality," he said. We needed your credit score for the lease.
We were going to tell you. Tell me.
I shouted. You stole my identity.
Dad slammed his hand on the counter.
Watch your mouth.
We're family.
It's not stealing, it's sharing responsibility.
Chloe peeked around the corner, smirking.
You're so dramatic.
You should be thanking us we got approved because of you. In that moment, something in me broke completely.
Whatever shred of loyalty or guilt I still carried was gone. That night, I packed a duffel bag with everything I owned.
I didn't know where I was going, only that I couldn't stay another second under that roof. And as I shut the door behind me, I knew this wasn't just about money anymore.
This was where he crashed on my friend Marcus's couch the night. It was small, cramped, and smelled faintly of old pizza, but for the first time in months, I could actually breathe.
I remember sitting on his floor, clutching that folder of forged documents like a lifeline.
The sound of Chloe's laughter still echoed in my head.
I kept replaying every moment, every liar, every fake smile. Marcus listened quietly as I told him everything.
When I finished, he shook his head.
Man, that's fraud.
You could get them in serious trouble. The word fraud felt heavy, like something out of a TV show, not real life. But it was real. They'd taken my name, my trust, and my future, and signed it away for a car. The next morning, I went to the bank and froze my credit.
Then I filed a report with the dealership, explaining the forged signature.
The clerk's expression shifted from polite to concerned. If this is true, she said softly, they've committed identity theft. You might need to get the police involved. That night, MOM texted me. You've humiliated us. How could you air family business to strangers? Dad followed with, you're destroying our family over paperwork. Come home. But I didn't reply. I was done being guilt-tripped into silence. I picked up extra hours at the diner and enrolled in night classes at a community college nearby.
I slept little, ate less, but felt more alive than I had in years. Every time I checked my account and saw a few more dollars saved, I felt something shift, not pride, but power. I wasn't their obedient son anymore.
I was becoming someone they couldn't manipulate, and deep down, I knew they wouldn't let go of control that easily. Something told me they'd come back, and when they did, it wouldn't be to apologize. For a few months, things were quiet, almost too quiet. I'd started settling into a rhythm. Work, night classes, sleep.
My parents hadn't called in weeks, and I took that as peace. But peace never lasts with people like them. One evening, I was wiping down tables after closing when my phone buzzed nonstop. Unknown number.
Then another.
And another. I finally picked up, thinking it was a scam. Instead, it was an insurance agent. Mr. Miller, we need to discuss the totaled vehicle registered under your name. The words daily processed.
Totaled?
I repeated. She explained calmly, like it was just another Tuesday.
The convertible, there was an accident. No injuries, but the car's a total loss.
Unfortunately, the documents show discrepancies, so the claim was denied. My blood went cold.
That car, Chloe's car. I hung up and immediately checked my messages. There they were, dozens of missed calls from MOM.
I finally picked up the next one. Her voice came out trembling. Adam, we need your help. Please, you have to fix this. Fix this. I snapped.
You forged my name, destroyed my credit, and now you want me to fix your mess. Dad's voice cut in from the background, sharp and angry. You're still part of this family, whether you like it or not. The bills are under your name. I laughed bitter, hollow.
Then maybe you shouldn't have stolen my name to begin with. Chloe tried to play innocent, crying. It was an accident.
I didn't mean to crash, but I'd seen the photo she posted the night before her drunk friends. That same car, red cups everywhere. I hung up mid-call. My hands were shaking, my chest tight with fury. That night, as I sat outside the diner, staring at the cracked pavement under the streetlight,
I realized something chilling. They weren't calling out of love. They were calling because their safety net was gone, and they wanted me to become it again. The following weeks were hell.
Dead letters started showing up at Marcus's apartment, all with my name, all tied to that cursed car.
The dealership claimed I was liable since the lease and insurance were in my name.
My credit score plummeted overnight.
Suddenly, I couldn't qualify for a new apartment, a student loan, or even a basic credit card. Every part of my life felt frozen, trapped in their shadow. I tried to fix it hours on the phone with customer service, sending documents, explaining over and over that the signatures were forged.
But bureaucracy moves slowly, and sympathy is rare when your name is on the line. Each denial felt like another punch to the gut. One night, Marcus came home to find me sitting in the dark, surrounded by unopened envelopes.
Man, you look like you haven't slept in days, he said gently.
I laughed bitterly. I haven't slept in months.
They ruined everything. He sat down beside me, quiet for a long moment before saying, then stop letting them keep ruining it. That hit me harder than I expected.
Because deep down, I knew he was right. I was still letting them hold power over me. A few days later, I drove by my parents' house, almost without realizing it. The lights were on.
The same car, now wrecked and dented, sat in the driveway like a ghost of everything I'd lost. I could see them through the window, laughing over dinner like nothing happened.
Like I was the villain for walking away. I parked across the street and sat there for hours watching.
Every memory, every lie, every promise came flooding back. By the time I drove off, I had made up my mind. If they were capable of destroying my life so easily, I'd have to learn how to rebuild it without them, even if it meant burning every bridge left behind. I just didn't know yet how much strength that would truly take. The morning after that drive, something inside me snapped into focus.
I was done playing defense, done explaining, begging, or justifying. I pulled out every document, every email, every message I had, and began building a case.
If they wanted to treat me like the villain, fine.
But I wasn't going to stay the victim. I started with the dealership, filing a full report detailing the forged lease and stolen identity.
Then I contacted a legal aid clinic that helped low-income students with fraud cases. The lawyer, a soft-spoken woman named Claire, listened to my story without interrupting once.
When I finished, she said quietly, "What your parents did is a crime, Adam. We can help you." For the first time in months, I felt seen. It wasn't fast or easy. I spent weeks gathering proof, signing affidavits, and answering questions that felt like emotional surgery. Every form I filled out forced me to relive what they'd done: the fake signature, the betrayal, the humiliation.
But each document also felt like taking one brick off my chest. Months passed. Then one afternoon, Claire called. "The lease has been voided," she said.
The fraud was proven. "You're in the clear." I just sat there in silence, the weight of everything collapsing all at once. I really cried for the first time since leaving home. Not out of sadness, but relief. After that, things started changing.
I earned a scholarship through an essay competition about overcoming adversity, irony at its finest.
I enrolled in college, finally on my own terms.
Every bill I paid, every shift I worked, every class I passed felt like reclaiming something they'd stolen. For the first time in years,
I wasn't surviving, I was rebuilding. But even then, I had no idea that one day they would come crawling back.
And when they did, I wouldn't be the same person they once controlled. It had been 3 years since I last spoke to them. I'd graduated from community college, transferred to a university, and was living on my own small apartment. Small victories, but everything in it was mine.
No handouts, no manipulation. I was finally free. Then one evening, I got a voicemail from an unknown number. My mother's voice, weak, trembling, and painfully familiar, filled the room.
"Adam, it's MOM. We really need to talk.
Please call us back." I almost deleted it.
But curiosity, or maybe old wounds, made me listen to the rest.
"Your father's out of work. The house is in trouble. We're sorry, okay?
We just need a little help getting back on our feet."
A week later, they showed up at my apartment.
I hadn't given them my new address, so I knew they'd ask someone, probably Chloe.
They looked older, smaller somehow.
Mom's voice cracked as she spoke. "We've been struggling, honey. Chloe's job fell through. Your dad's pension's gone. And the bank's threatening foreclosure. Dad stayed quiet at first, then added, 'You're doing well now.
Maybe you could see you sign a loan for us just until we get things sorted.'" I stared at them, unable to recognize the people standing in front of me.
"You forged my name once," I said slowly.
"Now you want me to volunteer it?"
Mom's eyes filled with tears.
"We made mistakes, but we're still your parents." I took a deep breath. "And I was still your son when you stole from me." The silence after that was deafening. I think part of her expected me to forgive them, to fold like I used to. But I didn't. I opened the door, my voice steady. "You taught me that family doesn't mean trust. I'm done paying for your lessons." As they left, I caught a glimpse of Chloe waiting in the car, avoiding eye contact. For the first time, I realized they weren't here to apologize. They were here because they'd run out of people to use. It's been 5 years since that day on my doorstep, and I haven't heard from them since. No more calls, no letters, no guilt-laced messages.
Sometimes I wonder if they finally understood what they'd done or if they just moved on to blaming someone else. Either way, I stopped needing closure a long time ago. Life now feels quiet. I finished college, debt-free this time.
I work in finance, ironic. I know helping students avoid scams and understand credit. Every time I sit across from a scared 19-year-old who just found out their parents used their name for a loan, I see a piece of my younger self in their eyes. And I tell them the same thing I wish someone had told me. You're allowed to walk away from family if they keep burning you. I still live simply.
No luxury car, no fancy apartment.
Just peace, the kind I never had growing up. Sometimes when I walk past a dealership and see those bright red bars on shiny cars, a strange mix of anger and amusement hits me. It reminds me how easily trust can be sold for vanity. Chloe reached out once through a mutual friend, saying MOM and Dad lost the house.
They're renting now, scraping by.
I didn't respond.
Not because I hate them, but because I finally understand that forgiving them doesn't mean letting them back in. I built my future from ashes they left behind, and in a twisted way, they taught me something valuable, that freedom sometimes comes not from love, but from letting go of it. If you ask me now whether I regret cutting them off, I'd say no. Because sometimes, the only way to save yourself
is to stop setting yourself on fire to keep others warm, and that's exactly what I did.